A very good evening and welcome to this Sunday's edition of Newsfirst Weekend. I'm Arundhati Mudalnayak. Let's start off with a look at the stories making headlines this evening.
Forecasts show no rainfall for several districts until end September. The CPC has incurred more than 800 million in losses as a result of faulty pipelines. An allegation from CPC unions. Subject Minister contends that loss calculations are politically motivated. Roots of a substandard fuel racket in Kalania come to light. The nation is living off debt, a statement from the leader of the JVP. Hamas declares a ceasefire after earlier refusing an Israeli truce. Death toll in Gaza continues to climb.
And now for the stories in detail. Department of Meteorology states that rainfall cannot be expected in a number of districts until the end of September. The Irrigation Department stated that the reservoir showed the lowest water levels in 14 years. Now people in a number of districts are facing a severe shortage of drinking water.
Districts that are facing these adverse weather conditions include Hambantota, Polonnaruwa, Monragala, Ampara, Trincomalee, Putlam and Anuradhapura. The people of the Madirigiriya Divisional Secretariat in the Polonnaruwa district are facing a severe drinking water problem. Allegations are being made that even though water is distributed, it is distributed to the people along the main roads.
No one comes here to give us water when we need it, and when we tell the relevant officials, they tell us the roads are inaccessible.
They tell us to come with small containers to the main road. We travel around 2 kilometers with these small containers, and by the time we get home, there isn't much water left.
People in a number of villages in the Madagama Divisional Secretariat in Bibila are facing a drinking water problem as well. All the water sources in the area have dried up and the water requirements are fulfilled by using water distributed through bowsers. Day-to-day activities of the residents in the Hambantota district are being hampered as a number of small lakes have dried up. Residents say that the bowser distributes water once a week, but it is still not adequate.
Water got pumped into our wells until the reservoirs had water, but now that the reservoirs are dried up, not a single villager has any water to drink or bathe.
Water is being brought to us once a week, and even that water is not clean enough to drink. Although we drink it, it does not quench our thirst because it tastes like soap.
The Department of Agrarian Development says that 100,000 acres harvested in the Yala season have been destroyed owing to the adverse weather conditions. The Commissioner of the department says the information of the individuals who are affected is being collected at district level for compensation. The Director General of Wildlife stated that the Yala National Park will be closed from the 1st of September for a month, taking into consideration the dry weather conditions.
As an initial step, we have started distributing water to small lakes with the use of a bowser. We are also providing water using water pumps up to a distance of 3 to 4 kilometers from the Manik River. We hope that we will receive the monsoonal rains by the end of October. We will have to provide water until the end of September. It is possible that the drought will aggravate by the end of September. We have decided to close down the Yala National Park till the end of September for this reason.
Trade unions allege that the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation has incurred a loss running into more than 800 million rupees as a result of problems experienced recently with the two boys used to pump fuel from the harbour to storage terminals. Now, Secretary of the CPC branch of the Jatika Sevaka Sangamaya, Ananda Palitha, accused the government of attempting to place the burden of this loss on the public.
The total loss is in excess of 800 million. Although the refinery is at minimum, the daily loss is about 20 million. It is twice that amount since there are 1,200 permanent employees. There are another 800 contracted employees. There is the electricity and water bill, and to add to that, the refinery cannot be left idle. If you look at all of these costs, the minimum is about 50 million. Although it is mentioned as 20 million, the cost of keeping the refinery closed is about 600 million and surcharges have to be paid in excess of 600 million. All in all, calculations show that even with the relief given, the loss is in excess of 800 million.
However, Anupriya Darshanayapa, the Minister of Petroleum Industries, accuses the unions of making false statements to achieve political ends.
I will not accept this. The petroleum unions must realize that these incidents are the result of a natural disaster. Thereby, there is no way in which we could incur such massive loss. We already had oil stocks amounting to more than $350 million at sea. The biggest problem we were facing is unloading this fuel. We took whatever steps we could to resolve this problem. Accidents and problems with the buoys can happen at any moment.
Anand Palitha meanwhile noted that an additional cost is being borne for a small vessel that has been commissioned to unload crude oil.
Crude oil is being transported from the vessel's City Line onto another vessel and is being brought to the refinery via Dolphin Jetty. A ship was commissioned for this purpose. According to what we know, it has been commissioned for a month and the minimum expenditure per day is $15,000. 14 days have lapsed. Until today, they have been unable to get even a teardrop's worth of the 40,000 metric tons of crude oil onto this smaller ship. They have paid $15,000 per day for the ship and are now preparing to send it back. Whose money are they spending? No, we have not even paid 5 cents. This would happen following talks between the shipping company and us. Since this was the result of natural causes, we can hold discussions regarding factors like surcharges.
A substandard lubricant and furnace oil racket has been reported from Kelaniya. The racket came to light following an operation conducted by officers including the officer in charge of the Unresolved Crimes Unit of the Kelaniya Police Division.
The low-quality lubricant and furnace oil had been discovered at an establishment on Abhayarama Road in Naraminaya, Kelaniya. The distributors did not possess a license from the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation. 33 sealed barrels of lubricant oil, 24 barrels of furnace oil and 4 barrels of hydraulic oil were discovered at the location. The police have also seized 94 empty barrels and a pickup truck. 2 suspects who were arrested in connection with the racket are to be produced before the Mahara magistrate.
An expose on today's Sunday edition of the Ceylon Today newspaper reveals that the government has pursued several US-based lobbying firms, squandering over 100 million rupees in order to defend its status in the global arena, especially the US. Now, it is said that the administration currently pays 4 US lobbying firms to defend the country and 4 are under contract or active accounts in the US.
The expose published by Ceylon Today notes that the latest additions with the Foreign Agents Registration Act contracts in the US are the Madison Group and Beltway Government Strategies. Besides these 2 firms, Thomson Advisory Group LLC or TAG, whose contract ended on the 15th of March 2014, was paid 100 million rupees, approximately $800,000 at the rate of $66,600 per month for its services till March 2014. Another lobbying expense of $348,000 was paid out to Majority Group LLC in 2013 by Sri Lanka. As reported in Ceylon Today, the Madison Group has undertaken the task of, quote, assisting the Ministry of External Affairs with creating situation awareness of current affairs in Sri Lanka, unquote, and the payment subjected to this process is $15,000 a month in fees for their services plus expenses and bonuses for performance. One of the agents who works for Madison Group was quoted saying the contract with the Madison Group will last through to June 2015 with the possibility of renewal. The registration with Beltway indicates it is working with the government of a foreign country and the foreign principal is the Office of the Monitoring MP of the Ministry of External Affairs. When queried by Ceylon Today, Monitoring MP for the Ministry of External Affairs, Sajjan Divas Gunawardena, said, quote, the Ministry of External Affairs continues to engage with the international community in communicating with the current developments in Sri Lanka and addressing issues that are faced by us. This is our job. Is there anything wrong in us performing our duties and obligations? Unquote. He also alleged that LTTE front organizations are spending over $2.5 million per year for a single company to lobby on their behalf. MP Sergeant Divas Gunawardena also had this to say.
You must also understand that USA works very differently to Sri Lanka and the rest of the world. The executive, the Senate and the Congress are totally detached from each other. Opinions are made, policies formulated based on the extent of lobbying that is done by interested parties on various issues. In their system, Congress and Senate base their decision making on this. I must admit that Sri Lanka has not been very successful in placing ourselves properly in this context. We cannot try to implement a method as we are used to here. Instead, we have to follow the practice in the USA. I don't see anything wrong in this. We need to get our message across. Our adversaries basically have caucuses every week on issues pertaining to Sri Lanka. Therefore, whilst we need to counter this, we need to also get it across that there is another side of the story, a legitimate one. Is there anything wrong in this?
However, in the expose, Ceylon Today notes that whilst lobbying can be considered a usual practice, the matter of concern is where were such monies obtained from and what outcome had the government enjoyed after paying 100 million rupees to TAG, the contract that ended on the 15th of March this year. Ceylon Today further notes that the US government itself has worked closely with clients, notable advocacy initiatives, keeping lobbyists at bay with hardly any payment involved. MP Sergeant Divas Gunawardena also admitted to Ceylon Today that he is acquainted with Imad Zubairi, a close associate of US President Barack Obama, but he also admitted that he does not know how influential Zubairi is with the Obama administration. According to the Ceylon Today report, Imad Zubairi is of Pakistani origin and is purportedly one of the close associates of Obama. He is an active fundraiser for the Obama administration, and Sri Lanka has approached him to be a go-between for the two governments to bring about change in the US's stance on Sri Lanka. Incidentally, Zubairi is a partner of Beltway Government Strategies, which is lobbying on behalf of Sri Lanka.
With all the heated exchanges from the political stage, up next is the battle for Uwa.
No one in this country can break the power of His Excellency the President, thinking that there is an election around the corner. That power is in your hearts. It is not power that can be limited to an election. What all of them are trying to do today is to destabilize the country.
I do not know how they calculated that Uva is the poorest province in Sri Lanka. Puttalam sores are erupting on the mouths of those who say we are the poorest. How are we poor? We are not poor. We have land, we have water, we have flora and fauna and a good atmosphere. Do those people who call us poor and submit reports have clean oxygen to breathe?
There is no income from agriculture industry. There are no income streams, and so the government gets money by either taking loans or by imposing taxes and slapping us with fines. They are stealing from us. You are fined if you get onto the road. You are fined if you go to a shop. The government's power must be reduced. The number of government representatives must be reduced. The government's voter base must be reduced. The government's anti-populist power must be reduced.
We have achieved victory in the economy, overcoming major obstacles. Problems arise when economic victories are won. We have added several unexpected costs, so it is difficult.
Up next is our special segment, Before the Ballot.
This is a shortcut to the Akriyan Kumbura in the Thalave Gama village in Vevata. This road, which falls under the purview of the Vidhimalia, the divisional secretariat, falls across the Katukumburuna Kadapalla area in Thalave Gama. The bridge, which is used to cross the river, is currently in a state of extreme ruin. Due to this, daily activities of over 280 families have been hampered. As a result of the bridge being in a dilapidated condition, the people of Thalave Gama and Katukumburuna must travel 18 additional kilometers to reach the Akriyan Kumbura. During 3 provincial council elections, people requested that this bridge be renovated. Politicians come and give us false promises and we are lost. They filled earth on either side and made a bridge. On the day it was declared open, a bus travelled on it too. But that was it. Nothing happened thereafter. The Ridimale, the divisional secretariat, is the second in the list of the poorest divisional secretariat divisions in the country. We have informed all provincial councils, but nothing has been done. We request that this road be renovated soon.
Taking a look at another one of our headline-making stories, the final rally of Brotherhood Day organised by the Socialist Youth Union commenced at the Vihara Mahadevi Park in Colombo today. Addressing the gathering, leader of the JVP MP Anukumar Disanayaka made the following remarks.
We are a country that lives only on debt. All expenses are being met with loans. Funds for education are being cut back. In 2005, the allocation for education was 3.8% of the GDP. In 2013, it was 1.6%. Spending on education has been halved. Spending on health has been cut back. Go to the rural villages and you will see what happens after the doctor gives the prescription to go to the pharmacy to purchase medication. Go to the cancer hospital and you will see that they need to spend 15,000 for an injection every fortnight for 6 months. Mothers and fathers are shivering on their beds because they cannot afford the injection. The pittance of a subsidy given to fishermen has been cut back. The farmer's pension has been cut back. The disaster loan for public sector employees has been stopped and plans are afoot to cut back the gratuity payment given to public sector employees. The economy is collapsing in on the people's heads.
Allegations are being levelled that an organised gang is stealing from fish farms in the Munnakare fishing village in the Nigambo estuary. Now, seafood was stolen from a fish farm containing fish that were to be exported.
The fishermen state that farms of export quality fish are located along the banks of the Nigambo estuary. The fishermen add that these fish are being exported to America, Britain, Japan and Singapore and that there is a high demand for them. The fishermen state that an organized group of people have started to steal the catch. A noise was heard at around 2 a.m. When inquired, the net was being cut by a person who came in a boat. I asked him what he was doing and then he untied his boat and then went away. Fish worth 500,000 rupees and fish bred throughout the whole year are being stolen. I have lodged a complaint. If the police inquires, they will be able to find the people responsible. The fishermen request that the issue be resolved speedily. Newsfirst made inquiries regarding these incidents from the Deputy Minister of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources Development, Sarath Kumara Gunaratna. I have not received the complaint. I am ready to help these individuals in a very secure manner if I receive the details. I am leaving to a training facility in Kalaweva with 74 individuals involved in the fisheries industry to provide support. I have advised them to come up with a proper mechanism as a committee and provide security to the fish farms. The stealing will reduce then.
An animal pilgrimage commenced in Galgamur today. Newsfirst provincial correspondent filed footage of this interesting event today.
These animals that are being transported in procession from Madagamoa and Galgamua are being taken not to a national park but the Ruanveli Mahasaya and the Jayasiri Mahabodhiya. The pilgrimage has been undertaken on an initiative of a group including Upali Chaminda Rajakaruna. Chaminda regularly takes animals that are injured in road accidents and gives them medical care. The animals will be taken to the Ruanveli Mahasaya and the Jayasiri Mahabodhiya and following the pilgrimage, they will be returned to the jungle. Wildlife officers from the Galgamore Reserve were also present at the occasion.
Newsfirst has been reporting on developments seen in the city of Colombo and its suburbs over the past several days. Tonight we take a look at the development of the iconic Colombo Racecourse in Colombo 7.
Racecourse Ground in Colombo 7 can be identified as yet another development activity based in the Colombo city, which is being spearheaded by the Ministry of Defence and Urban Development under the direct supervision of Defence Secretary Gotabaya Rajapaksa. This land was taken over for development activities in the year 2011. Accordingly, the dilapidated buildings and illegal constructions were removed. The development of the Racecourse Ground commenced as the fifth phase of the project to develop Independence Square and its surrounding areas. Accordingly, this area consists of a small pavilion, large pavilion and a rugby ground of international standard.
ශාල ප්‍රේක්ෂකාගාරය සහ ජාත්‍යන්තර තලයේ රග්බි ක්‍රීඩාංගණයකින් සමන්විතයි.
These pavilions consist of 18 large showrooms and luxury shops and facilities for the game of rugby. This also includes parking facilities and other commercial facilities for spectators. A cost of 450 million rupees has been incurred for the project. All planning for the project has been carried out by architects and interior designers attached to the Urban Development Authority. Labour provided by the army helped make this endeavour a reality. The completed Colombo racecourse has once again become the icon of the city.
The main office of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party in the Minyare electorate was declared open today by the party General Secretary and Health Minister Maithripala Sirisena. The event was organised by the Minyare electorate organiser and Deputy Minister of Social Services Chandrasiri Suriyarache.
A major problem in this district today is that owing to the water shortage experienced over the past several years, there is no water in the reservoirs. The Parakram Samudra was saved, but you know better than I, the fate that has befallen all the other reservoirs. There wasn't enough water to irrigate the fields. Although there is no voice today, and although the media doesn't talk about it, work on the largest development project in the Grand Mahavali Development Scheme, the Moragahakanda Kaluganga Reservoir was initiated by me on the 27th of January 2007 under the leadership of His Excellency President Mahinda Rajapaksa.
The Health Minister also participated in a women's representation conference in Mannampitiya Polonnaruwa this morning. Minister Sirisena also attended a conference of the SLFP Women's Force in Madaragiriya today. Two large hoardings that has been erected in lieu of this event were vandalized by a certain group last night. The Madaragiriya police are conducting further investigations into the vandalization.
In 2008, the North Central Province Education Department had the question papers for the mid-term school examination printed by the Machinery and Design Agency that comes under the Provincial Council and attempted to pay the institution a sum of 9.2 million rupees for the same. However, a technical committee appointed to inquire into the question papers later concluded that such a sum of money should not be paid even to a state-owned institution. Accordingly, the agency received only 4.8 million rupees for the printing of the question papers on the recommendation of the technical committee. The actions of the technical committee ensured the implementation of state finance regulations. However, Action TV unveiled yesterday that the North Central Province Education Department has been made to evade state finance regulations and pay out sums amounting to more than 3.7 million rupees in May and more than 3.6 million rupees in June this year. These sums were paid out under the nourishment program initiated for school children. The private company, which thus received more than 7.3 million rupees, was suddenly included in the nourishment program for school students in the North Central Province as a supplier of purportedly medicinal herbal soup or kanda. Incidentally, Circular Number 1 of 2014, issued in line with the nourishment program, does not provide guidelines or instructions for providing school students with medicinal kanda. On the 7th of May, the circular was amended only for the North Central Province to include this medicinal kanda. However, no changes have been made to the initial provisions to ensure the integrity of the nourishment program. Thereby, it is evident that the selection of this company to provide medicinal kanda for school students violated Circular Number 1 of 2014 too. Since the supplier is not registered as a business establishment, while taxes cannot be imposed on the massive payments that have been made, legal action too cannot be initiated with regard to these payments. While Circular Number 1 of 2014 requires that all benefactors who supply food items under the nourishment program reach agreements with the principals of individual schools, the company supplying the questionable medicinal kanda has been granted a mandate to provide packets of the mixture directly to zonal education officers without reaching such agreements. The school principals have been made to obtain the kanda for their schools via the divisional offices. Tomorrow on Action TV, we take a look at whether this medicinal herb soup being fed to the children in the province is of an acceptable standard.
The Colombo Grand Mosque has announced that since the new moon was not sighted this evening, Muslims in Sri Lanka will celebrate Eid ul-Fitr, or the end of the holy month of Ramadan, on Tuesday the 29th of July. Hamas has announced a 24-hour ceasefire after Israel ended its own truce and continuing rocket fire from Gaza. Hamas said all Palestinian militant factions would stop firing from 11 a.m. GMT. But Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said Hamas has already violated its own ceasefire and Israel will do what it must do to defend its people.
Israeli tanks and artillery pounded targets along Gaza today, sending thick plumes of black smoke rising into the sky. More than 1,000 Palestinians and 46 Israelis have been killed. A majority of those killed in Gaza are civilians, while 43 soldiers and 3 civilians have died on the Israeli side. Yesterday, many Gaza residents used the truce to gather supplies and retrieve bodies buried under rubble. Israel's cabinet had decided to extend the humanitarian truce, which began yesterday, until the end of today. However, there was no agreement from Hamas, which has accused Israel of using previous ceasefires to prepare more attacks. Hamas also claimed that there had been truce violations throughout yesterday. The Israeli Defense Forces released videos purporting to show a rocket launcher and mines found by the Juvati Infantry Brigade. The first video purports to show the finding of a rocket launcher in Gaza. The second video shows an Israeli soldier describing how he found 8 mines in the basement of a house located next to a school, which an army press release stated was run by the United Nations. Meanwhile, about 3,000 demonstrators gathered in Tel Aviv's Rabin Square last night, protesting for a peaceful resolution to fighting in the region, while a few hundred protesters held a counter-demonstration nearby in support of Israel's military operation in Gaza. Protests were also held in Paris, Geneva and London against Israel's 19-day offensive in the Gaza Strip. Pro-Palestinian protesters in central Paris, waving Palestinian flags and chanting, "We are all Palestinians," defied a ban by French authorities who deployed riot police. Paris police said they had made 40 arrests. One woman demonstrating in Geneva struggled to hold back the tears as she explained why she was protesting.
When we say we are all Palestinian, it is really because it concerns the whole humanity and we have to react. It's not tolerable, it's monstrous to see that.
In London, demonstrators unfurled the large Palestinian flag outside the Israeli embassy, with many carrying placards calling for an end to Israel's attacks on Gaza. Pro-Palestinian demonstrators rallied peacefully in Frankfurt and Berlin as well. In spite of the international outcry, the violence and tragedy continues unabated.
India has said that it will take back all its citizens detained on board a boat seized by Australia. But a decision on other nationals will be taken as per international law and convention after staining their identity.
Indian media quoted a Home Ministry spokesperson saying that as per current policy, India will take back its own nationals detained on board a boat seized by the Australian authorities in the last week of June this year, provided the consular access clearly determines their origin. The Indian Home Ministry says that in the case of other nationals, a decision would be taken as per international law and convention after ascertaining their identity. The Indian government's reaction comes after Australia's Immigration Minister Scott Morrison, who was in New Delhi last week and had met Home Minister Rajnath Singh and External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj, said that India has agreed to take back its citizens and would even consider taking non-citizen residents. A group of 157 asylum seekers, reportedly including Sri Lankan Tamils, were held at sea for weeks by Australia. The Australian government last week confirmed that the asylum seekers were being brought to the mainland, where they would be held at the Curtin Detention Centre in Western Australia.
On a lighter note now, an event was held to mark the 150th anniversary of the National Hospital in Colombo. The event featured a tribute to and the concert by preeminent musician Pandit Amaradeva. The event was held at the auditorium of the National Hospital in Colombo. An event was held at the BMICH in Colombo yesterday on the theme Environment, Pollution and Conservation. The event was held under the auspices of the First Lady Shuranti Rajapaksa. The exhibition was organized by China Machinery Engineering. The exhibition featured a number of submissions from the school and university level. Victors in the art competition were presented with their prizes by First Lady Shuranti Rajapaksa. Moving on to sports news now. Today marks day 4 of the Commonwealth Games and Sri Lanka's hopes of winning a second medal in the 20th Games were dashed. Let's take a look at the details of that event. Sachini Kaushalya was defeated in the 78 kg weight class women's judo bronze medal match. She was defeated by Annabelle Le Providence of Mauritius. Meanwhile, Sri Lanka's hopes of a boxing medal were kept alive today by Anuruddha Ratnayaka. Ratnayaka qualified for the quarterfinals in the 52 kg flyweight category, defeating Ugandan Rogers Semitla in the round 16. Weightlifter Chintana Vidanage, who brought glory to the country in the Commonwealth Games of 2006 with a gold and silver medal respectively, was blighted by misfortune yesterday. Now, sports first Roshan Watwala, who is in Glasgow, Scotland, caught up with Chintana following his event. Let's take a look at what he had to say.
Chintana Geethal Vidanage, kilogram.
Chintana Vidanage did not succeed in all 3 attempts he made in the 69 kg weight class yesterday. We caught up with Chintana to find out what happened. Chintana, can you tell us what happened yesterday?
What
happened is actually beyond me as well. Everything went well from the beginning. My training was up to scratch, I controlled my weight, and I was up to scratch in the warm-ups as well. It is possible that there was a flaw in the technique when I used my maximum strength. My next target is the Asian Games. I hope to get back to my level best and win back the medal that I lost and qualify for the Olympic Games. Well, Sports First wishes you all the best.
And to some cricket news now. Day 4 of the second test between Sri Lanka and South Africa concluded today with Sri Lanka in the driving seat. Now, when stumps were called early this evening owing to the poor light, the Proteas were on 38 for the loss of 1 wicket. Sri Lanka declared their second inning earlier today, having posted 229 runs for the loss of 8 wickets, holding a commanding lead of 369. Kumar Sangakkara notched up another career statistic, scoring his 50th test half-century, scoring 73 runs. Skipper Angelo Matthews chipped in with 63, his 16th test half-century. Now, chasing a target of 369, the Proteas was struck an early blow when Alvaro Peterson was caught at silly mid-off off the bowling of Rangana Hera. The Proteas require another 331 runs with 9 wickets in hand.
Oh, he kite that. Oh, brilliant catch. Nice. Cheeky from Dick Well. Yeah, gets it over. Very clever.
That's gone high. Good luck to someone. Who's underneath that one? Dale Steyn? No, it's A.B. de Villiers. And I think we now do have the declaration. So,
Well, that's a wrap from this Sunday's edition of Newsfirst Weekend. But before we leave you tonight, 17-year-old Canadian-Russian gymnast Patricia Bezubenko left her mark on the Commonwealth Games, winning 5 of the 6 gold medals in rhythmic gymnastics. Now, the Vancouver-born Patricia, who grew up in Moscow and holds Russian citizenship, won the individual all-around title and led Canada to victory in the team event. We leave you tonight with highlights from her breathtaking routines, a testament to the fact that with commitment and motivation, nothing is impossible. Good night.
She posted 13.75 in the preliminary round, so we'll have to do her very best.
I guess we know the score. Does anybody know?
Just enough for the judges to take maybe a couple of tenths off. There's a problem there. That could just be enough to open that door for Jones for the gold. Looking like she's concentrating very hard in part of his routine. Is going to be most interesting.